Today we're going to talk about why these power outages and service disruptions are only going to become more common moving forward and what you can do to protect yourself. Let's get to it. So the situation where I live up in Saskatchewan, Canada, it's always cold here in wintertime, okay? So we're used to minus 30, minus 40. Our grid is fully winterized. That's not to say that if there was a sustained power outage and the natural gas couldn't flow, couldn't be regulated by the power supply, that people wouldn't be struggling up here to keep warm in the same way they are down south right now for the short period of time. Fortunately, at least in my recent memory, I don't recall a power outage which was related strictly to the drop in temperature. Now, due to winter storms, yes, that's another story, but usually those are also short-lived. And unlike places in Texas where they have a massive power grid, I mean, there's 3 power grids in the US, the East, the West, and Texas, and they have these huge cities to sustain, okay? It's a very power-hungry state, one of the biggest, most populous states of them all. So they have a large power grid to sustain. So if their grid is not winterized because it's not economically viable to do so for a one-off anomalous event like this that's only going to happen once in a blue moon, you can understand why there's going to be big pressure on the system, and that's going to result in a lot of tragedy. Okay, I'm hearing stories about people who are trying to stay warm by lighting fires in their homes or, in their garages with their vehicles running, getting carbon monoxide poisoning, some of them dying. These warming centers that are opening up for the homeless and people who just can't get the heat in their houses because for whatever reason the natural gas isn't flowing. But this should be a wake-up call to a lot of people. One of my biggest concerns for a sustained power outage, especially in the big cities, especially in wintertime, is going to be fires. I did a whole video on SHTF fires that I'll post a link to in the video below, because you got to understand that we are so domesticated, people are so far removed from the mechanics of the basic physics of how things work, that they're literally trying to stay warm in their vehicles while parked in their garage, completely oblivious to carbon monoxide poisoning. Okay, simple things like that, which years ago, everybody knew about, but it seems like now, I guess we just take the grid for granted so much that we never ever have to be put in those situations anymore, but we are increasingly so moving forward. Now, the best thing you can do to prepare for an event like this, it's simple. Okay, costs you a little money, but get yourself a propane heater. They go by a variety of different names. I'm not going to promote any specific model, even though the Mr. Heater is probably one of the most common ones on the market. Propane is good because it stores for a long time. It's very safe to use. Some of them are rated for indoors, some of them are rated for outdoors, some of them are rated for indoors, but you got to have some ventilation. So you're definitely going to want to read the instruction manual. Obviously, if you have a bigger property that you're trying to heat, you can use forced air, diesel, and kerosene. You just have to vent it out. Okay, I've talked about all these things on the channel before, so I will post some videos in the description for you. Now, the system in the last year and a half now has been pressure tested on all fronts. And all of these things are going to continue to become more problematic. The grid is going to increasingly be tested, and I'm going to tell you why right now. And I'm telling you, if you're a flat earther, if you're someone that's into the fringe theories, just do us all a favor and pack up your bug out bag and go and find a boat and try to find the end of the earth for us while we discuss matters of science here, okay? So this is the Earth. On the top and bottom of the Earth, there's these poles. These poles are colder than the equator. The reason why the poles are cold and the middle stuff is warm basically is because the poles don't get a lot of direct sunlight. They get sunlight, but it's kind of on an angle. And even though during the summertime in the northern hemisphere, where you can go right to the North Pole, and it's going to be light all day, it's still not enough to make up for the fact that in the wintertime, it's dark all day. What that means is that the poles are basically the planet's air conditioner. This interplay between the heat of the equator and the coldness of the poles is basically what creates all weather systems. Now, the difference in temperature between the equator and the poles is what dictates the strength of the jet stream. The jet stream is a stream of air, which is kind of in a weird curvy-like shape, and it goes around the northern hemisphere. It circles around the northern hemisphere, and it has the effect of pinning a lot of that cold air up there in the Arctic. Because remember, the equator is warm air because it's getting direct sunlight year round, okay? So warm air is what they call a high pressure system. Cold air is a low pressure system. And when these two interact, that's when you get weather. So if you look at a real-time heat map of the planet, you'll notice that the jet stream acts kind of like a containment mechanism to contain all that cool air. Now, what's going on is that the jet stream is breaking down. And it's breaking down because the Arctic is warming up, okay? The ice caps are melting. And because the ice caps are melting, because it's getting warmer in the Arctic, that's causing the jet stream to destabilize, and it's causing the jet stream's perturbations to be more exaggerated and come down lower and lower into North America. So it seems on the surface that, oh, everything is getting colder. But the fact is the Arctic is getting warmer. And because the difference between the temperature of the Arctic and the equator is lessening, that is, the heat differential between the poles and the equator is becoming less and less, because the Arctic is warming 4 times faster than the rest of the planet. Okay, when they talk about global warming, they're referring to the fact that the global average temperature is increasing, even though you might have localized pockets where it's actually getting colder year over year, even though those are much rarer than localized places that are getting warmer. So as the Arctic warms 4 times faster than the equator is, it becomes a less potent low pressure system, and that weakens the jet stream. That causes this spillover of the cold and warm air. That's why we're getting these wild erratic temperatures, and this is only going to continue because every time it gets really, really cold here where I'm at, I have this habit, okay? I go and I check the Arctic sea ice record because it's logged every single day. And you can check out the extent of the Arctic sea ice every single day. And the colder it is down south in North America, you can bet that the Arctic is warming because that cold air has escaped the Arctic now, okay? It's no longer up there, meaning that the ice caps are going to melt even faster. So it's what they call a positive feedback loop, because if the ice caps melt, and by ice caps I mean the Arctic sea ice, because Greenland still has a lot of ice on it and it will for quite some time, but the Arctic sea ice is what's of crucial importance. And if the Arctic sea ice melts, that reflects less light back out into space, which causes the planet to heat even faster. It causes the oceans to heat even faster, and that changes the salinity of the ocean and the ocean currents and all this stuff, and you get more intense storms. So it just means that we're going to see more climate craziness moving forward, and you absolutely cannot rely on the government to keep you safe throughout this time. I'm not one of these people who's like, yeah, let's get the government in here to solve all this. And I'm not like Elon Musk who's saying, yeah, we need a carbon tax and all this BS. Like as if a tax has ever done anything good for the planet. Okay, that's not what's going to change people's minds about burning fossil fuels. What's going to change people's minds is what he's doing, is making kick-ass vehicles that go to practically break the frickin' sound barrier and are quiet and are renewable and rechargeable and don't require you to be chained to the ICE engines. I mean, we don't need to be forcefully taxed out of this situation. If you give people a better product, which is what electric vehicles are, they're a superior product in almost every freaking way. If you can give them that, then there's no need to get the government involved and, put the gun to our head and say, oh, you got to do this, that, and whatever. You don't want that, because right when you get that, they're going to abuse it. Then you'll get people chiming in saying, oh, well, the planet's going to be fine and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the planet is going to be fine, but our habitat and our way of life is contingent on things being the way they were yesterday, okay? And if we have to adapt, which we can, okay, we could winterize the grid for these winter extremes, because what you're going to see moving forward is you're probably going to see even more extreme winters. But to complement that, you're going to see more extreme scorching heat, Death Valley type summers. And I guarantee you that's what we're going to see this year, just like they seen in California last year with the wildfires and all that. This is going to continue. We're in the age of extremes. One of the most active storm seasons ever was last year. And this is only the beginning of all this. Now, look, even if you are one of these Ice Age, Maunder Minimum type people, you still can get a lot out of this channel, even though we might disagree on that, especially this channel where half the content I make is about winter prepping. Okay, this should be the #1 channel of the Ice Age crowd. Because I tell you, it's been pretty much an ice age up here, but it's not for the reasons why a lot of people think. It's because the Arctic is getting warmer, the jet stream is breaking down, and all of that warm air is coming down into the equatorial regions of the planet. It is what it is. And all you can do is get prepared to deal with the fallout. There's almost 8 billion of us now. I think 100 years ago, what was there, like 2 billion of us? And we got artificial intelligence on the way. We got big data. We got big tech. Everybody's totally polarized. We're on the brink of World War III and financial collapse. We got the breakdown of the climate. These are exciting times. This is one of the most unique times in human history. And the financial system is about to sustain a huge, major makeover that is not just something that happens like once in a century. It's not like the transition from, feudal to industrial. This is the change that we're about to see in the financial sphere is going to be apocalyptic, not in the sense that it's going to be the end of the world, but in the sense that it is going to be the great reveal. That's what apocalypse means. It's the great revealing, okay? There's going to be a major, major transformation, and the governments of the world aren't going to like it. And you know what? Let's just save that for the next video, okay? Because me and City Prepping are collaborating on something here. Should be releasing that in the next couple days. It's all about the Bitcoin revolution. Is it a revolution, or is it a bunch of BS? As All American Prepper would say. Anyways, stick around for that, guys. I hope you stay warm out there. Go and watch my other winter survival and preparedness videos. It's very important, if we're talking about winter preps, that you do the preps beforehand. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Stay safe out there. Stay warm. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Canadian Prepper out. The best way to support this channel is to support yourself by gearing up at CanadianPreparedness.com. Your one-stop shop for premium, high-quality, brand-name products that have been tried and tested by myself and other YouTube gear reviewers. My subscribers save 10% off by using the coupon code SURVIVALPREPPER. All one word in all caps.